If you're one of those people that has commented on my channel in the last few months to say, Nobby, when will you have the Seal? Say no more. Seal, BYD Seal. Gonna have a little look around the car today, gonna take it for a spin. I will bring you kind of on a point of view tour today because this is a quick look at the car. It's just the Irish launch in Paris Court of the BYD Seal. Basically, this is the next stage of their assault on the traditional, really high spec cars for prices that we just haven't seen typically. Now, I have got some notes here. If it's good enough for Johnny Smith, it's good enough for me. 313 brake horsepower in the rear wheel drive version. The all wheel drive version is the bonkers one. 11 kilowatt onboard charger as standard, 150 kilowatt DC charging. Would I have liked to see 200 on that? Perhaps. Lots of clever things that you'll find if you're looking at one of these cars. If you go on the internet and BYD forums and car forums, you'll find how easy it is to install and activate the built-in dash cam that's just in the center. Not even, it's like 15 minutes you can get that sorted. So there's some clever hacks. Some people have complained about the app, that it takes a little bit long for BYD to activate. It's generally about 3 weeks after you get the car to sync up with your actual vehicle. 82.5 kilowatt hour gross. It's the Blade battery again, cobalt free, less resistant to multiple charges in terms of battery health. 5.9 to 60 and 180 kilometer an hour limited top speed. Let's start with the outside of the car then, give you a little look around. I love the grooves in the bonnet. They're quite, I don't know, just, can I say it reminds me of a Ferrari in the bonnet? I'm not sure. I do feel there's a bit of difference of colour going on between this part and the bonnet. So, plastic, metal, BYD logo over the front, really low splitter off the ground. Like that is going to potentially catch curbs, but you know when you're parking on footpaths and there's a curb that comes up, you want to be very careful of that. Air curtains in the side here, they do also light up. I'll show you that hopefully a little bit later on. Let's take a look around to the side of the car then. It looks fast, if I can explain it that way. It's the lines, it's the angles, not actually even the best colour. So there's this kind of really light blue over there, and then if we bring it over this way, there's black. And I'm trying to remember the name of the kind of bluey grey colour over there. I think that's the colour I would go for. White also in the mix. Anyway, back to the car that we're having a look at here. So alloy wheels, 19-inch on Continental tyres, aerodynamic quality alloys, but still look nice. We've got BYD design over here. I like the way the mirror housing is integrated with this kind of black spine-like feature going on. NFC sensor on the mirror, which means you can access the car with a card. Pop-out handles, little attention to detail, the BYD logo going on. Blind spot in the mirror housing. It's also worth pointing out that these cars come really highly spec to standard. Privacy glass over here. Rear alloy looks quite like the front alloy to be fair. Again, I like the integration of the rear light, the way it goes right across the back. It looks very, very smart, broken up with the black for different textures. Quite a large rear windscreen, no wiper. You need one today, and very reflective, as you can see, panoramic glass roof. Just to give you an idea then, that's how the daytime running light strips light up with those very fine lines. Extra one here, and then the main headlight cluster. Very smart affair. I've just flicked on the rear light then as well, just to give you a better idea of how smart that looks. So it's very, very bright, very striking. You're going to notice that on a dark January cloudy day. You're not going to miss it from a safety point of view, but it does look very, very sharp, very, very crisp. It's quite a wide car as well from that angle. You kind of, the way the shoulders of it just pronounce over the sides. Again, nothing to do with aero from what I can see. It's just design. That little black insert there as well. Down here we have a camera and the button for the boot. That opens electrically. Now, a lot of cars like this, they're kind of compromised by design just because of the top part of the boot design. However, it's quite a wide enough opening. If it was a lift back, yes, of course you get more space. Decent quality materials used on the inside here. All the bags for all the storage. Don't know what that is. Let's open it and see. What do we have here? Oh, it's just mud flaps and stuff like that. I'm not really a fan of mud flaps on cars. I know they serve a purpose, but anyway. Under here, more space for storage. Really important these days because, you know, again, when you don't have the biggest boot in the world, you don't want to be clogging it up with cables as well as everything else. Little net storage going on here, and the upgraded speaker sub also. And close it all away with that. This is very much a kind of a say what I see type review today. I will have the car for a full week and I'll do a proper Nobby on car style review, but I love the way the headrests have BYD stitched into them. The design of those front seats, very sports bucket in nature. Always a compromise with these style of seats is they're quite wide, the shoulders are quite wide, so from a visibility point of view. I did obviously very briefly see the car in IAA back in Munich last year, and I thought the quality, particularly of the leather and stuff, was of a really, really high quality nature. Still standing by that. Nice mix of materials going on as well, with kind of suede Alcantara, bit of leather, bit of storage down here as well, so a lot of practicality. Totally flat floor, not surprisingly, so decent enough. Leg room going on in the back there. Sorry, there's somebody building a house behind me. Let me jump in here and just close the door. Still a very loud fan in the car. If you saw my review of the Dolphin, I thought the same. We'll jump into the front in a second. I'm obviously under a canopy here as well, but it's still quite bright. That panoramic glass roof is huge. It feels like it goes on forever. And I like the way it kind of just quickly integrates into the rear window. So you have that structure bar across there, but then that just extends into the rear window. Ambient lighting going on, which looks nice also. And yeah, legroom. Once you have that rear seat back, so foot area a little bit tight in terms of getting your foot under there, but knee room is okay. It is a little bit tight, but again, the driver's seat is quite far back. The only bit of visibility you have then from the rear into the front is through that little peephole there, and obviously across this part also. These lights are cool. I like the way there's little ambient lights around them as well. We have Jesus handles in the back. The only one who doesn't have one is the driver, but that's kind of standard these days, to be fair. Somewhere to hang your coat or your jacket also, and just a sense of what it's like in the back of the Seal. Alright, so where the magic happens now, just to give you a little look around, so that's where your NFC card can sit, just to activate. You don't need to leave it there all the time. Again, BYD stitched into the seats, very good quality. Again, just feels very good to the touch. You can definitely notice the step up now in this car compared to the Dolphin and the Atto 3 in terms of some of the materials. In many ways now the steering wheel and stuff looks the same. That beep was the car picking up a vehicle going by in the blind spot. So from a safety point of view, it's cool. You can individually turn on and off the child locks on the doors if one kid is a bit more leery than others. Again, your upgraded speaker going on here. A wider display than we've become used to on these vehicles so far. So it's much wider. Looks like about a 10-inch, just eyeballing it. Then your center display. I saw someone comment on social media saying, if I see that screen rotate one more time, I'm going to rip it off, which seems, you know, it's a bit angry, man. A little bit angry. Oh look, he's probably pulling his hair out right now watching this video, whoever he is. So yeah, it's massive. I think it does actually work more in portrait mode in this car than other vehicles, just because it feels like there's the space. Let me know in the comments, which way do you like it? We have 2 wireless charging plates. Again, this is stuff that it's starting to come through in the more traditional brands. It's just here now on BYD. It's kind of a Diamante gear shifter. A lot of shortcut buttons, including to demist your windscreen and your different modes for snow and ice, automatic handbrake and park, and the volume for the radio. So I actually like that those little shortcuts are just there. And give you an idea of how this screen works. So you have auto here. I've just turned it off now at the moment because it does run quite fast and the car is cold, so it's going to try and heat it up even more. AC settings, one thing worth checking. Make sure that's in comfort. You can precondition the car with a key. You just hold this down and you can do it with the app. Now, I haven't had enough time just to mess around with this car. I don't know if you can do it from a timer point of view. Certainly you couldn't in the Dolphin. Once again, I'd imagine, I haven't driven the car yet, I will take you for a spin in a couple of minutes. I'm going to want to turn off traffic sign recognition. But apart from that, I actually find the BYD monitoring system is quite good from a safety point of view. It doesn't really drive you mad. Any settings that you need to know from a service point of view are in here. I probably want to see a bit more light up action here. I think there's a bit of ambient lighting going on there. Maybe it's turned down. Steering wheel does feel more premium now than the Dolphin and the Atto. Feels like it's not leather, but it feels like there's more leather going on. I do really like that screen. That's a great size. A lot of other, even more expensive brands are doing smaller screens here. I just don't tell you enough. I do like the screen in the ID7, but it is still quite small. That's gigantic in comparison. And you can toggle between different things on that screen. And you've got lane keep assist and radar cruise and all that kind of stuff. It also displays the radio, what mode you're in. There's a lot of information there. Only 71 kilometers on this car. Oh, and just to start and stop it, that's down here. This is not the 523 brake horsepower version of the Seal, and I deliberately chose the slightly less brake horsepower because there was upon a time before electric vehicles certainly that 313 brake horsepower was more than enough, and I do believe that's still the case because this is rear wheel drive. It's a very wet day. It is getting the power down, but it truly is enough. And you've got to ask yourself how many days a year does it rain in Ireland? Yes, the extra grip is nice. It's going to cost you about €6,000 if you want like for like, spec for spec. Now BYD have confirmed this morning that they're considering bringing in a cheaper, again, trim spec in the Seal. I presume they're going to wait and see. Are people going for the higher spec? Is there demand there? If more sales are in the slightly less specky design version, then maybe the cheaper version will be imported into Ireland. Drag coefficient of 0.219, let's call it 22. Not surprising with the design of the car, but a very good figure. Now, it's telling me I'm doing 22.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. This car doesn't even have 100 kilometers on it yet. Come back to me when we have the car for a longer drive, and we'll explore that together and see how efficient this car is. Battery warranty is 8 years. The standard warranty on the car is 6 years or 150,000 kilometers. you should be able to get from 30 to 80% using a 150 kilowatt charger in about 26 minutes. Also, you may have seen recently videos of Teslas that weren't performing because it was so cold. Well, BYD say with the combination of the standard heat pump on this car, it will operate in temperatures of minus 30 degrees up to 60 degrees Celsius. So those kind of videos, now I think those temperatures were even sub minus 30, to be honest with you. But anyway, it's just worth pointing out. The indicator stalk is on the right and the wiper is on the left. That's the third time I've taken a corner without using an indicator by accident because of the swapped setup. They're not changing it around for customers. Some people have also mentioned that the app can take a couple of weeks to sync up with your car. A friend of mine has bought this car and it didn't take long. I've seen other people on forums saying that it was taking up to 3 weeks, and that was quite frustrating from an ownership point of view. The way the batteries are integrated into the actual design of this car, you hear of ground up EVs. Well, this is almost like battery mounted ground up EVs because of how it's at one with the chassis of the car, and it really is a sharp handling vehicle. Is it necessarily any sportier than a Tesla Model 3? I'm not sure it is, but it has to be at least as good, and it has definitely achieved that. And again, I think there is enough performance in this standard version of the car. It is nice to say your car is 523 brake horsepower. I just don't know if it needs it. And some Irish insurance companies are acting the mickey when it comes to the brake horsepower version of the car, because they're saying, well, it's much quicker, and then from a replacement point of view, if the car is written off, it's very expensive. As usual, they're using every opportunity they can to crease the motorists. So just bear that in mind as well before you hit the order button on your dual motor version of the Seal. I truly believe the standard is quite okay, and it is dealing with the power through the rear wheels nicely. Again, very little mileage on the car, so the tires are in tip-top shape, but it's just nice to see. At 96% state of charge, it's displaying 550 kilometers. Yeah, if I keep driving, it's not going to achieve that, but it gives you an idea of, if you were careful, if the temperatures were really good, you're probably sitting in a 500 plus kilometer car for mid-40s. And that is, you just can't get away with that. What I like about the Seal as well is it's kind of exciting people. A lot of electric cars, they're very functional and all that stuff, but they're a little bit boring. This looks great. It looks different. The interior, as you look around, it doesn't feel like this is, it's not a budget brand or anything, but it doesn't feel like it's a cost-cutting interior. I didn't even feel it was the Dolphin, and certainly the different textures and quality of the interior is standing up to comparisons with alternative cars in this segment. In terms of road noise, I did notice the Dolphin was quite noisy over the A-pillars. Not really as much of a case here. A lot of tapping of rain on the windscreen, all right, but I think overall it's a better insulated car. Very, very sharp steering, good body control, rigid enough, but certainly on these 19s it's not overly firm, from what I can tell anyway. Again, getting that power down is not a problem, and on this kind of mountainous road, it's dealing with the bumps and the surface of it. I've got to tell you, I really like this. And the price is always in the back of your head in a good way. It's like, all this for that price. And what I am hopeful about this car as well is it will hopefully drive other brands to look at what they have in a similar area and look at the price and see can they do anything on it, which ultimately is going to be
of benefit to a consumer. Going to be seeing a lot more of BYD as well. They've just announced this morning that they will be sponsoring the Euros this year. So again, the more, look, it's marketing exercises, but the more BYD associate themselves with normal life as far as Western Europe is concerned, then all of a sudden it becomes a familiar brand, not just through the cars, but through marketing exercises. And you've got to remember the budget is there. I mentioned the ship earlier on. They've got 7 more on order. So when that's completed, they'll be able to carry 56,000 cars on their ships from the factory with no middleman involved whatsoever. And you've got to admire that way of thinking, really, you know. We're not going to let anyone else control how our company operates. Same with the batteries. BYD produce their own batteries in factory. They're not relying on external sources. Now, to be said, it has to be said, Volkswagen and the likes are doing that as well. So does it feel like a driver's car, albeit an electric one? I think you could say it does, and that's not having driven the all-wheel drive version. I'll get to that at some point, but I just think this is going to be the big seller. And you know, if you do get the all-wheel drive version, it's almost like you're sort of losing a bit of the benefit of the price point of this car. If you stick to rear-wheel drive and get the higher spec, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, and you'll just about see change out of 50,000 euro, give or take. Definitely initial impressions are very, very good. I will have to live with it for the week or so, try charging it, try shoving all the bits of family life into it, seeing how it copes with all that. They're important things that I can't really cover on a quick splash and dash test drive. 2 interior colours. My preference would be this sort of blue. There's some official name for it. It's not blue, but there's black as well. Exterior colours, I think is it ultra grey? I think that looks really, really classy. And then with this, not quite the same colour, but this bright blue interior, I think the whole thing would work very well. I can't get away from the fact that in black it does look very good, especially when it's clean. But 6 colours, no fancy reds, nothing like that. They're quite conservative, whites, greys. There's a kind of an olive green. It actually looks all right in the flesh. I wasn't too sure when I saw pictures of it, but it does look okay. I don't think I'll get this colour though with the green. You'd need the black. So in summary, and I'll do my overall summary in a second, but if you have one on order, I'd be happy. I'd be excited for your car. And if you're considering one and you're after something that looks good, will be cheap to run if you charge it at home, I think BYD have got a solid offering. And of all their vehicles that I've tried, and the U Seal is coming later on towards the end of this year, that's a utility, it's like an SUV. But out of all their cars so far, this is by far the one I'm most impressed with, and by far the one that if I was in the market, it'd be the one I'd be considering.
Sorry it took so long to get the car finally on the channel. I am impressed. I know people in my own personal life who've bought these and they love them. They're only like 3 weeks into ownership, but they love it so far. What a day to launch a car. It's absolutely pelting down. It's cold, it's 3 degrees. Not the ideal launch temperature and climate for a new electric vehicle. But I think it looks great. I think the spec is great. I think the price is really interesting. Even, I haven't mentioned it yet, but if you get the entry-level car after grants, you're talking about 45,000 euro. There is an almost 2,000 euro delivery charge on the car. That might be worth negotiating, but I think at this early point of this car launching, you'll be told there's a queue. What else is really interesting about BYD, just as a company, they have their own ferries that can transport up to 7,000 cars in one ferry journey. Like, the scale of this company, they've been around for 30 years. There's talk of tariffs for cars from China. BYD, they're currently building a factory in Europe. They'll just build factories wherever they need to avoid the idea of potential tariffs. If you want to go electric, if you want something that gives you a lot of bang for your buck and you're kind of sick of the traditional, it is worth looking at. Thank you very much for watching. leave your comments and questions down below. I'll have it soon in full on the channel. I'll talk to you in the next one.